What's going on, guys? Jason Euler here with Lvnding. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing to one of my good friends and very, very talented artists, BARDZ. How we doing, brother?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Dude, absolutely. I know you and I got a relationship. We go back a little bit, and two guys who have really worked their way into the music world out of Arizona here. So I'm excited to share some of the things you're working on and some of the sounds you're bringing. I think might be the first live performing artist we've really got on here. You and Lvnding. So I'm really excited to introduce you to our viewers today. Tell us a little bit about where you got going, man. Tell us about the BARDZ project. When did you start? Why did it start? And let's just jump into the beginning.
Yeah, so I've been making music in some form or another for like my whole life. Like it was probably back in like middle school, high school, I was doing some cringy Jason Mraz, Jack Johnson type thing with the guitar and vocals. And then I've been playing guitar since I was like 11 or 12, did saxophone in school, like starting in elementary school all the way up till freshman year of high school. So I've been like doing music for a while in some form or another. And then
classically trained in a lot of ways, definitely.
Yeah, Clay, you could say classic, but like just trying to get through class. But yeah, I could read sheet music back in the day, but it's been a minute, so probably not anymore. Then I went to Arizona State, where obviously met you and everybody else out there, and that's where I really started getting into electronic music, going to shows, things like that. And
any shows or music that you were like really started getting into? Like, who pulled you in, or what show like kind of started pulling you into this world?
I think I was really into the indie electronic world back in high school, like M83, Passion Pit, Naked and Famous.
Yeah.
So I think like when I was listening, I was going back through my Spotify like a little while ago, and I saw there was like Alesso in there, and like there was electronic music that I was not like aware of like what I was actually getting into. But then you go to college and it's kind of everywhere. So I don't know if anything in particular pulled me in, but I started going to I've been going to Coachella since high school. Like haven't missed a year. It's like one of those things. And then I remember like walking through the Do Lab, and this is back before it was like its own stage in the corner. It was like
when they were really building it.
Yeah, it was like picture like a food truck in the middle of the festival. Like it was very small, and you walk by and you're like, what is happening right now? This is super
what are those
weird.
weirdos over there doing?
But I was like really into it, and I was like, okay, this is sick. And I was like, what the hell was that? So I started doing research, and then I found myself like in the underground scene accidentally before, and not really underground, but like for me at the time.
Yeah, of course.
And like, so it just kind of went from there. Went to hard summer events, went to like, the Insomniac stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And obviously Arizona has a cool electronic scene out there as well.
Yeah, we do all right.
Yeah, you guys crush it. So that like I guess influenced me wanting to make that kind of music, because I was always making what I loved, I guess, and that kind of pushed me in that direction. I remember a defining moment, which is hilarious, is Mason, my manager,
of course,
we were working like the shittiest desk jobs ever, trying to like make money over summer. I think we were saving up for like EDC or something like that, or maybe it was a hard event. And he sends me a Zed remix competition from Guitar Center, and like I've been going to Guitar Center since I was like I could talk. So I'm like, hell yeah, we're obviously gonna win this. Yeah. Garbage. We both made remixes, and I remember Mason was like, well, you should keep doing this, but I'm done. And I was like, I thought it was so good.
I think that's how most of us become artist managers is, we go, okay, this isn't for me. I'm going to let the other creatives stick to that.
Yeah. And but at first he was like, yo, I'll DJ, you produce. Kind of like, the duos, like, I guess you had like back then what Slander was, what really
I know. And multiple have stepped up. That's how it was with even the Econova project I work on. He was Suspect Zero prior with a duo and a producer.
Exactly. And it sounded like a dream to me. Mason did not end up fulfilling his oath. So I was like,
not yet.
Yeah. So I started like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to perform this. But I was making music through the back half of college, and then I graduated, and I got my first show as BARDZ, I guess you could say. I was like releasing under that alias. and played my first show, tried out the guitar, the keys, and everything. This was before the drums and all the other crazy stuff
And
got
all
put in
the
there.
other things. And so everyone out there, this man picks up multiple instruments, is running all over stage, and
Yeah.
drums to the guitar. The man can do it all.
It was a nightmare though, because it was my first show. Like, I mean, I'd done like stuff in high school, but like, coffee shop or
Yeah,
like small stuff, right? But
little
this
different.
was a show with sound, and like what happened was the guitar was offline, like whatever power strip was running to the amplifier was not working. So I was like, first show, shitting myself, like, hey, the guitar's not working, and I didn't have like the shows under my belt to not lose my shit, because I was like,
Yeah.
this is the biggest thing ever to me. It wasn't, but
At the time though, it always does. It always feels
yeah,
like
it was, and I'm kind of glad, because it was like a train wreck, and also I had my stuff set up right, like in a certain way, and what happened after sound check was they came in, and it was like it was I don't give a funk production, so there was like an art installation that was part of the stage.
yeah.
So what basically happened was all my shit was put on the side of the stage, like it wasn't even hooked up. So I was like, okay, let me try and build this while someone's Austin Feldman's
Oh
playing,
my god.
and I'm like trying to set up my shit. The guitar's not working, and I'm like, okay, like, nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Ended up
Worst case
playing the
scenario.
show. It ended up working out.
It always
No
does.
one knew. And I was like, that was a terrifying experience. But then from there, I was like, well, fuck it. Okay, let's keep doing it. Started.
Of course. But that's the thing. That's the thing with failure. It teaches you, and I think everyone hits some point to get into the music world. You have to hit some level of failure, and then just go through it and go, "Oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought. I can keep going." It weirdly encourages you to try again sometimes.
100%. And like I said, I'm glad that happened to me on my first show, because like a lot of more terrible things have happened like since then. But now I'm like, it's fine.
That's the thing on event production. Like everyone always sees me. If you see me running around a festival working or anything, just my hair's on fire at all times. I just
Oh yeah.
sure everything's on fire at all times.
Yeah, dude, and like I used to work for Golden Voice doing event management as well, so I think that like kind of tempered me out a little bit, because it was like
You're in that high
you've
stress
seen,
environment.
yeah, it's just like shit's gonna go wrong, like almost always,
Yes.
but like it always ends up working out, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
And
exactly. You just problem solving. You got to be able to think on your toes. And at the end of the day, the great thing I know with you, and obviously we talked about is Mason. Just having a team behind you and having people that can make sure that oversee. I think that's probably been just such a huge difference too.
totally, yeah, my team's awesome, and
What was the first time you really felt like the BARDZ project, like starting to get that initial like momentum? Like, I know it's never one moment, but if there's anything you can think back to, like, do you have a day where like a song came out or a show happened, or you're like, okay, this is really starting to pick up some steam? Where can we go with this?
yeah, I think like in retrospect now, they were big at the time. I released a Phil Collins remix,
Yeah.
and that did really well. And then I ended up doing, I think when I played the main stage at Gold Rush, that felt pretty real, because that was the first
That
time
was
I was on
2018, 2019.
2018, I think.
2018,
Yeah.
I remember that. I was there for that. I was there for that.
Yeah, that was cool. And it was funny, because like my set got like worst thing ever, I guess, that tops the first thing. Dead Mouse is sound checking. He can't run his cube. They're missing an 8-inch cable, which is an aux cord size cable. We later find out like operations are held back because they're missing an aux cord of some to connect something. So anyway, my set gets cut 20 minutes in, and the way I do my sets is like I don't DJ. It's kind of modular, but it's like a timeline, because I'm playing instruments on top.
Yeah, and
So I
you're
had to
putting a
like,
lot of your original music and everything into it that you're already
yeah.
producing.
So I had to like on the fly make that be the time limit that was now being yelled at me across, like, you got to end by this, and I'm like, dude, I can't do math right now. So I was like trying to like yank songs, but it worked kind of perfectly, and like that felt cool to me, because it was like, okay, you did the damn thing, like,
Yeah,
full circle.
you're on that stage, the spotlight's on. Hey,
Mhm.
problem happens. How are you going to respond to it? And that's the biggest thing is when you get punched in the teeth a little bit. Especially in events. It's always how you respond.
Yeah. And to clarify for your viewers, I was not opening for Dead Mouse. I was opening the main stage. He was sound checking, and he was playing last. So
Yeah,
I'm
the
not
cube
that
came in last that night.
Yeah, it was not
The whole
like
stage had to
me
be
and
built
him.
so the cube could fit in.
Yeah. So, but that was a cool festival, and
God bless Dead Mouse.
yeah, God bless. And then yeah, from there I think is like playing the first out of state show, or just, I don't know, it feels
Those
real
little
to me
moments.
because like it takes all my time and attention. So like it's real. It's just at what level, you know what I'm saying? We're always trying to
Yeah,
keep
there's no,
doing
it's just
more.
it's the process and it's the journey of just continually pushing forward the art.
Yeah,
You know, I think
100%.
that's the forefront. That's the one thing I've always seen with your project is you've been so forefront about pushing the art between you and Mason and the team, and you know everything's really just branded and built around that. You know, I see so many artists just try to go and start branding and marketing. You know, you really built your sound and figured out what that was going to be before you guys started really pushing and diving into that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And like I don't know if that was intentional. I think we've just been like basically trying to figure it out. I mean, we're still trying to figure it out. I don't
And
think
we all
anybody,
are.
no one's got it down, but like I just, yeah, I guess it's all I know is like instrumentation of music and stuff. And like I was like the branding stuff to me, like it's so interesting because I think that's its own separate art form.
Oh,
Like how you
100%.
can, because it's meticulous, but if it's premeditated and you can come up with, like Dylan Francis, I found him through funny videos before I ever heard his music, and that's how I see him. But like his music is fun, that's what it is. So
It
like,
is. It fits his brand.
and like that was outreach and that worked.
Yeah.
I guess. And then if you're on the other side, I guess what we're trying to do is like, hey, like big music people over here, but like, the guitars, the singing, whatever. If you find it like that and that's what you like, then hopefully that'll cater to that kind of thing. And like,
Of course.
I think I'm a pretty like easygoing, funny, goofy guy too, but like trying to figure out where that fits has been tough
Yeah.
because you don't want to like put yourself in a box of like joke EDM, which is not saying that part
And
is a
then get
joke.
pigeon, but you get pigeonholed as that like funny go lucky artist, and then that
Yeah,
becomes your brand and your voice from the brand for the rest of the time. You
right.
know, it's brand, it's personal and brand identity. You know, and every artist goes through it essentially. You have two identities in a sense.
Hmm.
You really
And
have
I
to.
think getting those closer that's the goal, I guess. Like,
And that's
like
the
I guess,
authenticity from that I see from you and the brand. That is it. The brand is very much tied to you and your personal. Like, I mean, it's showing through in what you guys are doing right now. I mean, for anyone, go to BARDZ's Instagram page, and you'll be able to see the story behind all these records this man is putting out, and you see the personality and the feel from it. So talk about that. What made you guys start going that direction to how you're describing these records, explaining them before they're coming out, because you're sharing a lot of details on them that are very personal to you as well.
yeah, totally. I think so. When quarantine hit, a couple things happened, but one of them was, okay, let's figure out social media because
Mhm.
I don't know about most people, but I think it's it's a lot of work and it's
It's
hard
the most
because
annoying part of running an artist project is having to keep up with it.
yeah, it's like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy making the content for anyone out there that enjoys my content. I love making it, but it's tough sometimes because all I want to do is sit down and make music, and then sometimes you have to do stuff on TikTok where you have to be a bit more kitschy, but it's because certain things don't jive on certain platforms.
That's
Like,
the audience. That's the audience, and it's tough trying to find that voice and cater to which audience is where.
yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're purely going into it with the intention of sharing your art.
Mhm.
That's the focus.
It's making sure art and content aren't the same thing, but also describing your art through content because certain platforms are gonna prefer certain things. It doesn't mean
Of
your
course.
stuff is bad or good, but I guess for the storytelling stuff behind this EP has like a story. It's like songs 1, 2, 3, 4 is a chronological journey of, well, it's the stories of me, Dan Turley, and my friend Austin, our collective experiences going through creative burnout, start of quarantine, right?
Yeah, of course.
For me personally, but everyone goes through it. And then moving to a bigger city to kind of like get a change of pace,
Mhm.
getting caught up in the wrong crowds, kind of your own fault, getting losing sight of the journey and why you went there, and then having to pull yourself out, like having your own intervention, so to speak.
Yeah,
So,
essentially coming to that point of self-awareness and realization of the direction you're taking your life and yourself
mhm.
right now.
And like it's all centered around like we're all trying to find creative truth. You know what I mean? And
Whatever drives us personally, yeah.
yeah, and so obviously that's music for us, but it's about anything for anyone, whatever they find gets them up in the morning. So that this EP out of any project I've ever released actually has like a story to it, so I wanted to make sure it's not getting lost on people.
Yeah.
And the bonsai tree idea that Carter Junkel and I came up with. Carter Junkel was the guy who like filmed and pressed the images and everything, but
They're like
it's
really,
literally we had four of these guys,
yeah.
and what the bonsai tree was meant to represent was, bonsai trees are they're meticulously shaped by their environment. You have to go in there for months, days, years at a time, and you got to clip them to make sure they grow the way you want.
Yeah.
So the bonsai tree is supposed to be the character, and each environment is loosely metaphorically represented of the space that each song is in. So burn bright, candles, burn books, like ashy kind of thing, like that is
Yeah.
you're trying to like rise out of that. Skin deep is, the background is like transit clips, like trains, like moving, like that's going to LA, right? For
Yeah.
example.
You're in motion.
Yep. And then concrete jungle is a tree in a tinfoil, crystal, broken mirrors, like wiry type of environment
Yeah.
because it's super synthetic. Like you do not belong here, and that's kind of the transitionary
But you're
period.
still growing and trying to bloom in it anyways.
Yeah, and like you're alive and you're making it happen, but like these two things are not supposed to be in the same place. And
Yeah.
then skin deep is the clipping of the tree, which is like, metaphorical shed that like, and that's the final transition. So that kind of came first as far as like the art direction, and then from there, I just wanted to make sure I was explaining it in more detail to people. So
Yeah.
each one of those clips is me with a camera putting the tree in those environments, like the burn bright one. I think I just put it out like 2 days ago. It's the tree on the desk, candles, and
Yeah.
like moody type stuff, but it's basically to explain where the setting of each of those songs is in chronological order, because I love releasing music for music. Like sometimes you sit down, you make a beat, you write a song. It doesn't have like intense meaning to you, or it's something you needed to get out, but it
Yeah.
doesn't come from any certain point in time. But this started in quarantine. I think we wrote Save Myself like a week before quarantine started, like
Yeah.
March. And then finished Concrete Jungle was the last one, finished that like in November. So this is a quarantine project, which
I've seen with so many artists, my artists, other artists I've got on here. I did a lot of interviews on here during quarantine with other acts too, and like, I think personally, I think we're gonna see some of the best music we've ever seen in this space right now as all these events come back and shows come back and people get to feel that real connection again. And I'm personally just so excited for it because I know I've heard a lot of unreleased music. I'm seeing the music come out, and you can just hear the passion and love for it. And even just hearing you go through that creative process, you can hear how much just thought and attention to detail was put into every bit of it. Because while we all quite frankly had a lot of time to think last year, I'm sure, but it's just so cool watching you guys take that just love, connection, all the way through the branding and storytelling of this through a really difficult time that myself, you, and everyone experienced last year.
Yeah. And like you just said, it's not really, everyone kind of went through some version of that, so it doesn't inherently make it like special in that regard. But I think like we can all come together on the fact that last year was pretty weird, and I think it's cool that, at least for me, and I know a lot of my other friends in music, like when shows were happening, and like let's say I was playing like one show a month, two shows a month, but I was playing shows, I was making music, and a thought I would have would be like, how is this gonna play out? Like, and I was making more, not necessarily heavier, but I was making music that I knew, like, because I would test it out. Like, this is gonna be fun. This might go off at a show.
Yeah.
But with everything since then, I think like I got way, way more into songwriting first. Like, does it sound amazing with just me and a guitar? And if it does, then produce out the rest of it.
I build from there. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I wasn't making, I mean, I don't think I'd ever make bangers, but maybe they're fun at shows, but like my music.
I've seen some go off. I've been there in the crowd at a couple.
Yeah, but it's like, it's never been like let's make a banger today.
No, but it makes you feel something, and you can feel it there's some bass lines that come through in your tracks. It shatters your soul.
Yeah. I mean, shout out Shady Park for letting me test out a lot of that last year. But yeah, now it's like, do I leave this song feeling like, wow, I need to like sit down and chew on that for a while? That's kind of what I want to like, make stuff that is deep, not not that like it's shallow to begin with, but I wanna write
Yeah.
stuff of substance to myself, and then hopefully it can like be of substance to somebody else, and then give it the outfit of electronic music. Or I guess it's my stuff's been moving more towards like indie electronic. Like I guess there might be drops here and there, but now
Yeah.
it's more like let's give them a song kind of
I
thing.
love how you said that, directing to make them someone else feel something, because I think you have so many personal emotions and thoughts. And like, I know one big thing, you've always been a really big advocate of mental health and everything too. And I definitely think that's something that's tied into your brand there. Talk a little bit about that and how that's really shaped you as a songwriter here as well, and the message you're putting out to fans.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I used to have a pretty big anxiety problem. It was like, I guess, kind of social anxiety or just random, like, hey, it's not
Those
right now
moments.
kind
Yeah.
of thing. And, that filters into depression when you have both. It's kind of hard not to have one or the other. I'm good now, but, every once in a while that'll pop up and I'll be like, I see that's coming. So I
Yeah.
think, I think it's important to just recognize that it's a thing that a lot of people go through. And
Of course.
I don't I think I find it like sometimes being the topic of my songwriting to some degree, but I'm trying to wrap it more in metaphors these days because like I think like there's a lot of things that, overcoming or dealing with mental health, I think it has a lot of translation
Mhm.
to a lot of other problems people might be facing. Cause I mean, it's more or less the same struggle sometimes.
Yeah, it
So
talks about hitting that low point and climbing to that high, and there is a journey back in that process, because life is never here. We're up and down
yeah,
at all times.
100%. And I found a lot of like similarity between, like, I think there's ebbs and flows to everything, right? Like some
Yeah,
days you're pretty creative and you're like, this is cool. And some days you can't get anything out. Some
yeah,
days everything goes wrong. And then other days, like, it's just a good day. So it's kind of like, it sounds so cliche and like, cause it's been said before, but just kind of dealing with it and knowing like that it's going to go like that and
yeah.
just trying to find where you best fit in to do the things you want to do in between those peaks and troughs. And
Yeah,
that's,
I feel like your creative journey, health journey, anything you're doing when it comes to self betterment, it's going to look like the stock market. It's going to go up and down. You're going to
mhm,
have those low days and red days, but you're going to have the green days where things go too. And I think a lot of it's just, you said it, like it's coming to terms with that self awareness of, okay, hey, this is present. I'm acknowledging it for what it is. And has that really pushed you into more creative outlets at times though too? Have you been able to kind of leverage those feelings and take them and push them into your music?
yeah, I think it depends what I'm feeling, but like most days I'm pretty good most of the
Yeah.
time, but like honestly, it's been strange because when quarantine happened, I think I wrote one of my best songs ever. It's not out yet, but it was one of the most lyrically, I think it was just something I needed to get out, right?
Yeah, of
And
course.
since then, because I got that out, a lot of the stuff I wrote after that was kind of trash because I think I
Okay.
didn't have a lot to say. And I think because we haven't been able to live life normally, for me, that's been
Yeah.
tough because, that life imitates art, right? But you have to
Yeah.
go, at least for me, I got to go have stuff happen to me. I got to be stuck in traffic or get T-boned, or I have to
Yeah.
have like, you know, my grocery bag ripped from under me. Like little, from
Yeah.
major
Little
to
things
not
like
as major. I need things, not always bad, but I need good
that.
things
Yeah.
to happen too. I need to have
You
like,
just need life to happen, and just
exactly.
have those moments where it's kind of smacks you upside the head, and then you have that thought or that realization or that spark. So I think being stuck inside, I'm sure as a creative, like finding that spark of being somewhere in a moment in life happening, and that sparking an idea and then that turning into something. I definitely think that was eliminated from a lot of creatives. So like
Hmm.
you really just had to go deep within your own mind to source it. Essentially, is at least what I saw with a lot of the acts I work with.
Yeah. Like you got to tap the well and then you got to refill the well. But I will say for beats, I can sit down and make something and like if I start making a beat, I'll just kind of like follow where it wants to go.
Yeah.
And like I think sometimes my favorite things are the ones that are super messy. Like I won't have an idea ahead of time or a concept. Like that's when it's fun.
Yeah.
Like and then those are like cool, weird beats, tracks, whatever. Sometimes vocals go on them. But then the lyrical side of things, like if I start a song that way, usually I'm trying to have something to say,
Got it. Really get
But
that point
sometimes it's
across.
okay to not have anything to say. Sometimes You just got to
Sometimes it
make
gets
stuff to make
feel.
stuff.
I can't tell you how many tracks I have in my library. One of my favorite things about dance music is a song that has 0 words in it,
Yeah.
but I can feel just everything coming from it. And that's the true power of music. You know, when you tie the vocals into it, that's that human connection to it too. But you know, that when it doesn't have a single vocal, and that's just that universal language that we all can understand, you know, no matter what language you speak, which
Totally.
is just crazy.
And it's visceral too, because like there's nothing like really keeping you from feeling that if it's gonna work for you, because it's just the music. It's not, you don't get caught up on the words or the way the singer sounds. And it's funny, like I was really into electronic music. Obviously I still am, but when I really was getting into it in the beginning, I loved it because there were no words, and I was like, cool, because I've always been a big instrumental guy, and now I'm writing like lyrics
Yeah.
and shit. Now I'm that asshole. But like back then I was like, I would just get down to beats and like make beats, and now I'm trying to like marry the two. But you're totally right. Sometimes you gotta just let the music be the music without trying to, you find yourself putting some sort of like, oh, that's kind of poppy.
Yeah,
And
like
like then
forcing a top line onto it, or trying to find the right word for it.
yeah. And
For itself.
you know, there's like the commercial argument, but I think like the second you start thinking about what playlist it might get on or blah blah blah, I think like you've already just
You've lost yourself
absolutely,
creatively.
yeah,
Or
you've
even
muted
like,
the creative.
yeah, that's such a good tip for any young artists out there listening to this, is like the second you start trying to curate your sound to fit somewhere else, one, you're literally stripping yourself of your own artistic identity. You know, and then are you really making music for yourself and to really connect to someone, or are you making it to fit someone else's expectation of what you think it needs to be? So
Yeah,
I really love that you touched on that. And again, it's the one thing I love about the Launchpad here and these episodes is there's so many, you know, just good little tips for any aspiring producers, musicians out there to hear like that. So I just really wanted to shout that out. That's awesome.
Yeah, and to go off that for one more thing, I just saw a great quote. I forget who said it, but it was like, like, don't make basically don't make things for people. Well, not making things for people. If you go out there trying to like help people, like it might not always work out. And I'm totally butchering this quote because I don't actually remember, but it was basically like, if you want to see what helping people looks like, just look at like the horrified looks on the people's faces that are being helped.
Yeah,
I'll find it. I'll send it. You can put it in the link below, because
I'll put it in the link below. We'll drop
subscribe. Yeah, but it's basically saying like sometimes the things that help people the most, and I found this to be evident for myself, the things that if people reach out and like, this song did this for me, and I'm like, thank you so much, but I made that for myself. I had not even like in a selfish way. Yeah, I wasn't trying to make this anthem that was gonna make someone's day or take them down, you know, like help them out in some sort of way. It was usually like I was making it because like I needed to do it for me, or I was just messing around. And those are the ones that speak because they're not trying to be something. You know what I mean?
I completely agree there too, you know, and like I think that hits the nail on the head between the difference between a process and a result. You know, sometimes people get so caught up in, oh, this is the result it needs to be, that they lose sight of the process. You know, and that's what ultimately gets us there. You know, I always compare it to like the difference between happiness and joy. Like happiness is a result. Oh, I got that promotion. Oh, I got booked for that show. Hey, this person likes me. That's a result. You can't really control that. Joy is waking up every day, loving what you do and enjoying what you're about to go do. And that really ties into the process and the journey and kind of the beauty of becoming.
Yeah, so, totally.
I love that. Well, that being said, where's the sound heading next? Is there anything like you're excited to experiment with, you know, as far as your lane and what you're creating here in the dance music space and electronic music, you know, where do you see it evolving? Where do you see yourself evolving?
I think
because live acts are making a big comeback right now. Tons of live acts are getting pushed into festivals, and I really think we're going to start to see more live performances personally.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say exactly, is like, if you look at every big act, it almost seems like they're all incorporating or fully going live to some degree. And like, it might not be, you know, an actual band at Red Rocks like Grizz is doing, but it'll be some sort of like hybrid thing. Like, you know, what I've been doing, like electronic resampling, but like instrumentation. And there's an element of, oh, you might fuck up. And I think that's what makes it cool and human, because, you know, with electronic music,
you don't know if someone's up there pushing a sync button.
Exactly. And like, you know, there's an element of risk, and I think like
Which you've experienced,
yeah,
clearly.
I don't know if you've ever seen FKJ perform,
One
but
of
that,
my favorites.
yeah, you're just eyes glued, and you're like, the dude doesn't have laser beams and visuals. He has a wall of guitars he probably won't touch, but he has all of his stuff, and he's like, "Yo, I make music. You should watch me play for a
And
while."
the
And
guy
like,
can just jam. I mean, watching that man walk
yeah,
instrument to instrument.
or Tosh Sultana, good example as well. Like, you're hearing something for the first time, and I think the more, because that sound, that physical audio they're playing has and will never be the same way
It's
again.
organic.
There's
Just as
micro
organic
idiosyncrasies.
as it comes.
Exactly. And that they're obviously on the, they're less electronic than they are, you
Of
know,
course.
whatever.
I mean,
But
I saw FKJ got booked at Electric Forest, man. There's that that crossover and that hybrid's coming, and it's really a lane. I know you've dominated as you've built yourself up through the Arizona market, and obviously moving into looking into LA and a lot of the other things you're doing. You've really established yourself in that kind of hybrid space. That, like you said, like I can't really compare you artists. You're all so different because of what you just mentioned. Because you're creating that organic sound, those first time things, like it's not the same every time compared to a DJ. You're going to hear an idea or similarity pretty consistently.
And that's not to knock DJs. That's an
okay,
entire art form, right? Like I do not, and physically cannot, like read a room and pull a track out and make that happen, because one, I don't even have like the technical ability. I've never done that. So that's an art form. And when you want to go dance and party, like that needs to be there. But I think if you want to sit back maybe on the grass at Coachella and watch at the sunset set, or you want to be like, out and just kind of, I mean, the goal, I'm not saying I'm doing this, but the goal is to, have people dance around a little bit, but also have them kind of look there and be like, oh shit.
Yeah,
and like,
it's a pretty beautiful moment in life.
And just enjoy the music, right? Because that's what I grew up loving, was like standing there and like, yeah, this is amazing. And
yeah.
I think electronic music is getting more that, like, this obviously never left us. We have regular other genres of bands and people playing real music.
Yeah.
Like that's never not been a thing. But I think there's a demand for it in electronic music because with everything that becomes popular, it's a bubble and it'll deflate eventually. And I think like I don't think DJs are going anywhere by any means, but I think people are going to start to experiment and do a little bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's looking for that next more unique lane, as this, space gets more and more saturated, and, this boom of electronic dance music, like it's happened over the last decade, continues to just ride. But the great thing is, you guys can sample so many ideas. You can take a Phil Collins track and really recreate an idea and put your twist on it, like that's the cool thing about electronic music is, you can reach into so many other genres and ideas and realms of music that I just truly don't think it's ever gonna go away. It's just gonna constantly evolve now.
And like, to be like technical, every single piece of music, 99-95% of everything is electronic in some degree.
Exactly.
The drums are time aligned.
Some place,
there's sampling going on. Like maybe it's a backing track when they perform, but there's sampling. There's almost every vocalist, unless if it's pertinent to the genre, is doing some sort of time aligned pitch correction, like, because there's a commercial gloss that goes on so many of the things we hear that like you'd be pretty shocked to hear a vocal that's, you would have to be like, you have the best singers in the world that maybe they don't for their sound, but for most of the stuff that you listen to on the radio, it's been heavily treated to some degree. And like, that's just the way it is. And like, that is electronic, right? But then it becomes like a sound and a timbre when you choose to like push some of those things to the nth degree, and then it becomes like a flavor, like hyperpop. I don't know if you've been following hyperpop. But it's like, that's cool because that, I feel like I really enjoy it. I think a lot of it's really sick, and to me, it sounds like what my parents probably thought electronic music sounded like when I was coming. Like, what the hell is this? This is garbage. But like, I think it's cool because it's so intentional, at least the stuff I've been listening to, where it's like, oh yeah, they're pushing this to the limit, and this is cool.
The boundaries. Yeah.
And
that's where music always expands, is when you do have those artists that take that step and say, let's push this,
usually when it pisses off old people and it sounds really different, you have something new coming. Like, I'm reading a book on songwriting right now, and the guy's interviewing people from like where they were writing for Sinatra, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, they like 40s, that's like their golden era, 30s, 40s, 50s. And then the guy asks them what he thinks of rock and roll, and they're like, it's trash. Like, it's so diluted. And I'm like, oh man, if only you guys could
if you
hear
only
where
knew
music
what
is
came
going
the
now.
next like 40 years and Woodstock and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and like they're talking about Elvis. They think
Yeah.
Elvis is trash, as in like the music has no substance. And it's funny
Yeah.
because I don't think that's ever going to change.
No.
But I think your idea of what is complex and beautiful grows because you grow up and that's your normal, which right now for kids growing up, electronic music, where the state of where it's at is
Yeah.
normal. And they have to build upon that. Otherwise,
So
they're
it's
just
gonna
listening to
advance.
dad's records, and that's boring, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. No,
Yeah.
I think we're definitely heading to some exciting times. I know we got exciting times coming this year. No, I love that. Well, I want a couple things before we wrap up here. I want one thing you're grateful for. I always like to preach some gratitude on the podcast here, and I want one thing you're excited for coming up that you're really excited for coming up this year.
I'm grateful for, honestly, my friends and family, like cliche for sure. But
hey, after last year,
like,
you know.
Yeah, and getting to see them in person, cool. Like, because like with anything that you like dive into, sometimes it's kind of isolating and it's like a journey on your own kind of thing. Like with music, you're here in front of the computer or the desk, but like having like a good, not only support system, which is cool, but just like people to kick it with and be a normal person with, that is enormous for me. And getting to just hang out with people and like I said, now we can do life again. So
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that because
I think we all are.
pretty sick of being in my room, to be honest. But that's what I'm grateful for. And what am I excited for? Like, besides the obvious, we have shows.
Obviously, shows are coming back, but you know, anything, you know, could be specific to the BARDZ project, could be personal to you as Tyler. You know, what's something you're excited for coming up here?
Personally, for me as Tyler, I just want to sit in a movie theater again and just get slammed by something in like Dolby IMAX. I just want to get I just want to see a really good movie and like eat popcorn and do that whole damn thing. But
something so simple, but you know, after last year, it really doesn't seem that simple.
Yeah. And dude, I mean, for BARDZ, like I feel like I'm gonna play a show, and I'm hoping it goes fine. But like I have a feeling I'm gonna royally fuck it up, and it's gonna be hilarious because I haven't played in so long, and like I just want to get out there and like get the embarrassing stuff out.
Just get it out of the system.
Looking forward to it. Like, yeah, grab the mic, but forget to turn it on, or like, you know, your voice cracks when you're singing something. Yeah,
I think I saw some poor DJ knock over the entire DJ table, and it went viral a few weeks ago. So I'm like, you know, it can't be that, but there's always something worse. But
nature is healing. We're having.
I'm telling you, and even for us on the event side, is, you know, we move back in at Relentless Beats where I'm at. You know, we're gonna have our learning curves to come back and get the flow of things. I think we all have it coming. But Tyler, where can the viewers here find you on social media? How can they connect with you? I'll put the links in too, guys, but you know, drop the line here.
Yeah, it's at BARDZ Music everywhere. All socials, BARDZ and then music. Spotify, Apple, Tidal, Deezer, Amazon. If you're my grandmother, you can go on Amazon. And you know where to find them. So.
You can Amazon Prime it. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We're grateful to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was BARDZ.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Love it, brother. Thank you so much.